Talking video games. Welcome to Filthy Casuals, a podcast about video games hosted by two very kind and extremely knowledgeable boys. Thank you for joining us. My name is Tommy Daslow, and with me, as always...
Ben Vanel here. Now, we are recording on a Thursday afternoon Australian time.
Afternoon?
Thursday morning Australian time.
I was going to say, how long were we talking shitball before hitting record?
Yeah, okay. Look, I'm all over the fucking place. I've had a busy week, as have you.
Yeah.
But luckily, Nintendo have announced a Nintendo Direct. So we'll be able to talk about that next week.
We could make this episode go for 15 hours, 16 hours, and then by the time we're getting near the end, we'd be able to just watch the Direct live.
Yeah, do some live commentary.
1 a.m. Melbourne time. But this got announced this morning. Woke up to the news that there will be one final Nintendo Switch 1 Direct.
Yes.
Which seems very strange. We are less than a week out from the big reveal of the Switch 2 in terms of the games, and you would assume the launch date and price, etc. This seems bizarre timing. I get that they've got to have like one last little like, hey, here's all the
other shit we can shovel out at the door before we roll over to the next one.
Does kind of feel like putting this out after the two, big Direct. Would be, it would kind of get lost in the noise of that. But I don't know why they didn't do this like 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's not like there's stuff that's we've only just gotten the trailer put together.
Yeah.
Because this kept being rumored during the week, and I was like, there's no way. That would be insane.
Yeah. Another wild business decision from Nintendo, though.
Yeah.
Because they, like late last year, they were dropping alarm clocks and a bunch of random shit, and everyone was like, where's the Switch 2?
Yep.
Where's the Switch 2? Just pacing around their house, waiting for that reveal.
Yep.
And then, another just like, okay, here's, I guess, what even would be left? I can't even imagine.
Some third-party stuff, but even that, it's like, I don't know why you wouldn't be... Like, I do wonder if there'll be any stuff that they show that then... the big question is, will there be any sort of capacity with the Switch 2 to like upscale Switch 1 games?
Sure.
So I wonder if there'll be anything in this that is like they show off and then in a week's time you see a, version of it running better on the Switch 2. Maybe that's how they reveal that functionality.
Sure.
If they're going to have some kind of cross-gen stuff, I don't know. I expect it to just be all like quite inconsequential,
probably
shovelware kind of stuff. But who knows? I mean, if there must be something in there. Like,
I guess, and they're not going to talk about the Switch 2, obviously. But yes, does that preclude them talking about like, this game is out now on the Switch 1 and will be on the Switch? Like, because everything. Most things are backwards compatible. Obviously, there's like a few things, I guess, that like the online services would defunct now. Like, I think that's the main reason that stuff won't be cross-gen. Like,
yes,
pretty much everything first party you would assume would be. But I
read a rumor during the week that it was some source saying that Metroid Prime 4 is not featured at all in the Switch 2 Direct. So maybe, like, I think a lot of people have assumed, like, surely that's got to be running on the 2. Like, that's going to be bumped up or, at the very least be maybe slightly visually improved on it.
Yeah.
So maybe in this Direct, that's where we're seeing a lot more of that with a date for it. That's really the only thing left that is like strictly always been listed as a Switch 1 game.
Yeah.
That they could be showing off and, giving a bit more information. So maybe it's just a date. Maybe it's just a place to have a date for that because they kind of figure putting that in the Switch 2 thing, it's not technically a Switch 2. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I don't know.
Yeah, because they haven't said this has been bumped back and will be a Switch 2 game.
Yeah.
So it has to be sort of covered a bit more before that.
Well, I do also like the idea that everything that we're seeing in the Switch 2 reveal will be stuff that we can assume is being worked on, but we don't know anything about. Like, we don't know about like official confirmed existence of. So this having been talked about for years and years and years, and we've seen a little bit of footage of it. Like, I kind of do like that it's potentially just existing in its own thing, and then that the next week's one is all just big reveals of brand new stuff.
Yeah.
So
more
we'll
about
see.
the console, more about the interface, all of that
Yeah.
shit. Like really going deep on that.
And it does make sense for people who like still don't have a Switch 1, maybe aren't interested in paying full price for a 2 at launch. Like Metroid Prime 4 is maybe like the last chance to like shift a few extra units of just the Switch 1 for people who just want to get one cheap and have access to the back library without having the new stuff. So
or just have a Switch 1 and aren't planning on buying the 2 and are like, oh well, there's another game for me to buy. Okay, cool.
So maybe the figuring is like if they lead into it too heavily in the 2 direct, it's gonna cloud the fact that it is ostensibly a Switch 1 game.
Yeah.
So I guess in that sense it makes sense.
That's
to just if
probably,
they lean in on that side of it, because that's the only thing that I think there's literally nothing else left that hasn't like been of first party stuff that they've announced in the past, because that Xenoblade Chronicles remake came out last week or something.
Right.
And I think that was the last thing that had been like dated that was a Switch 1 game to come out. But yeah, Metroid Prime 4 just being loosely hanging there is like I think the last thing on their slate that's that's a true Switch 1 game. So
if they
probably
didn't if they didn't mention it, that would be very strange.
The more we're saying it, it feels now like they just definitely won't mention it. Anytime you start to go, well, surely it's this.
Yeah.
It ends up being like, no, wrong.
No.
Completely incorrect.
It could very well be a big Metroid Prime 4. Hey, it's coming to the Switch. Is there no release date?
No. All we have is I think...
If it doesn't come out before the Switch 2, that's bonkers.
I think they said it's this year.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I wonder if... I think the speculation has been that it would be a like a Breath of the Wild style, cross-platform.
Day one on Switch 2 release, but cross-platform.
Which then, if they're going to do that, if they're doing this direct for the, for the first one, then like announcing the date for Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah.
And then it's like weird if that is also the date, if that's inadvertently reveals the date of the Switch. I don't know.
Yep. Fucking who can tell with these crazy Nintendo guys.
Yeah.
But really looking forward to not that direct, but the next one.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, it's fun to have some, like, I'm definitely not staying up for this one.
No.
Happy to wake up and see the news, but I'm pumped for that midnight reveal next week.
Yeah. So, what do you think? What do you think we're going to get?
Yeah. Sorry, everyone who hates this stuff.
Yep.
I dare say you probably stopped tuning in a long time ago.
Yeah.
If you do get that annoyed by this this topic of conversation. Look, I think we were just talking about it off air and about how like their approach to online stuff and how Splatoon is often the leader for that kind of stuff. So I could see it being. I'm trying to think about how they did it with the Switch 1. It does seem like a lock that Mario Kart will be the launch game.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to get deep dive on that. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of other stuff is sort of really given the pretty vague treatment.
Sure.
Even when the Switch 1 was revealed, it was quite a while until we saw actual, like it was announced, I think it was like October 2016 in a very vague way. Then there was that presentation at the start of the next year where we still only saw vague stuff of Mario Odyssey. And it wasn't until E3 that we saw the actual trailer of what you're doing in the game.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of thinking there'll be a bunch of stuff like that.
Sure.
Where it's a lot of like montagey.
Yeah.
I'd kind of want to know the detail. I'd love them to just go deep dive on all of it and release dates and everything. I think we'll maybe get like a couple of like firm, here's everything about Mario Kart, it's day one.
Yep.
And then everything else will be back end of the year, vague release windows, bit of a montage of just very vague gameplay.
Yeah, bit of like, and of course, returning, it's the favorite of everyone online, splatting around paint. It's Splatoon 4.
Yeah,
and you'll get maybe a logo reveal and a bit of footage, and that'll be it.
I think they'll do one of those like jazzy, pop song things where it's like, here's kind of 6 different games all kind of spliced in.
Yep.
Bit of third-party stuff shown off there.
Yeah.
It seems like probably like Doom Eternal. I know there's that Halo collection has been pretty heavily rumored. I think they'll lean into the third-party stuff. Pretty heavily with it. Yeah, I do think that. I'm gonna say that I think it's a Mario Kart that's got like all franchises in it.
I
think that's going to be their day one. It's more of like a everyone kart. Or
Mario Kart Ultimate.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I can see that. As like, we've said many times, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is still one of, if not the highest selling games on the Switch.
Yeah, and
like,
I think they'll do a bit of a lean into the online side of it because they're going to want people to kind of come out of the gates with their Nintendo Online subscriptions.
Course.
Like, I mean, even 8 Deluxe was like a holdover from the Wii U.
Yeah.
So it had, you could play it online, but I think maybe this is the generation where you see them start to lean in a bit more. Like, maybe as people have speculated, I could see it being a Forza Horizon style, like a mode that's always online where you're like driving around with lots of different people. Like I could see it having some sort of functionality like that, but like, I could see it having a sort of Splatoon-esque level of online functionality just to get people really interested in the online stuff on day one. Like a lot of, the little the stuff that you can buy in Splatoon, the different modes, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like customizing your cart could be, like buying stickers and literally, all of that Splatoon stuff.
A lot more like League stuff, a lot more. Yeah, I could see it just having like a, more robust like battle modes, just kind of all the stuff that's in Splatoon that people really get into the online stuff of. Yeah. I could see that being a real day one function of Mario Kart.
Yeah, and I think one of the big things that was an issue with the Switch One was the way that like online multiplayer was handled. Like I didn't really keep up with it, but certainly at launch it was like, you got to download an app on your phone and like use your headphones on your phone to like, and you can only chat on, like it was all very restricted.
I think even that came quite later, but the chat thing being through an app and
I guess their whole like their positioning was like, well, we're a kid-friendly brand.
They're never going to get to a point where you can do full voice chat and have it be as open as something like Steam, which honestly doesn't bother me personally because I don't do a lot of online stuff. Like the little bits of Mario Kart Online that I played was like fine. You link up with some friends and then you're racing against them and you can have a chat over Discord. It's like it is one more step, but I don't know. I don't think they're ever going to get to a point where there's voice chat built into it. I just don't think that's something they're interested in doing. But I don't know, because for something like Splatoon, that doesn't matter to the people that play that game. Like that has like a huge audience and huge fan base. So
same with Mario Kart. It's like people aren't clamoring to be on voice chat. It's like, hey, if I can invite my friends to race with me or race against a bunch of random online people, like I'm just there to drive my car around.
Like we know that everything's backwards compatible and a lot of stuff will carry over, like the Switch Online, and so the libraries of the stuff that they've put, of like the old Virtual Console stuff that they've put on there. Maybe they announced that day one they're going to have, or certainly early on, like GameCube stuff on there. Something that people have been clamoring for a while. I'm trying to think what else. I mean, I think with them, it's like, I think they're at their best when they are like truly surprising.
Yes.
When they come out of the gates with some like wild, 3D Donkey Kong platform. That Wario is also in. Something kind of weird and random like that. I would love if it is, a 3D open world Mario.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want Odyssey 2. I really liked Odyssey, but I would rather them do something a bit different with the format, or I don't know. There's like a, thing that goes around every now and then online of like, what would you rather, Odyssey 2 or Galaxy 3? And I probably would rather Galaxy 3.
Right.
I like the mechanic of the zero gravity and the level design in that. I thought was like, opens them up to a bit more interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Than Odyssey does. But again, I think it's been quite a while since the last one of them.
Yes.
That I'd love it if they just absolutely cooking.
I have to assume that if there was going to be an Odyssey 2, we would have got it already.
Yeah, it
right?
feels that way. It felt like the sort of thing where they could have had a bunch of ideas left over, ready to go and wheel it out pretty quickly as DLC or whatever. But it did, it kind of felt like they did everything they could do with that. I feel like an Odyssey 2 would just be, more levels, more little guys to possess.
Yeah.
Mario's the series it's innovative.
Yes.
It's always the thing that is like that does the next kind of new thing that ends up being copied. So, I mean, I'm ready for a Breath of the Wild sized, Bowser's Fury.
Yeah,
I don't think there's been a platformer that's done that, and like this is the team to do it.
Totally,
like, it's such a cool. If it works, it's such an exciting, fun thing to think about.
Yes,
so,
I completely forgot about Bowser's Fury because at the time it was like, well, this is the blueprint. This is the blueprint for the next one.
This is a low stakes test.
Yeah. And then the team that worked on Super Mario Wonder being like having the freedom to just be like, come up with something really interesting, really creative, and throw it at the wall, see what sticks. I feel like that has to have been like a company philosophy that would bleed through to the 3D one, and just being like, okay, let's go for the most ambitious version of this that we possibly can, right?
Yeah.
Full open world, full, like weird ways of gating progress, like, areas opening up.
Yep.
But like, yeah.
I mean, I will say I like the idea of a Mario Kart having some elements that are, Forza style, kind of always online. Mm-hmm. I don't want that in Mario.
No,
thinking about a version of Mario where you run into like other Marios running around.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, maybe if it was more like a Dark Souls thing where it's like, if you choose to activate the online mode, then around the world there'll be like those little tips and hints and things, and like, like try triple backflip here, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yes, if it's completely offline, single player, but open world, then fucking sign me up.
Let's go.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah. I'm trying to think like, what's worst case scenario? I mean, if they come out of the gates with more ports.
Yeah, fucking hell. That's I mean, it's like,
I don't know what it... I mean,
what's
really,
left?
there is nothing left, is the good. I mean, if they were going like...
If they ported some Switch 1 games...
Yeah.
It's like, no, man, they're backwards compatible. You don't need to...
Yeah. I mean,
Or
other than going like straight, like, back into... Not that I necessarily would want this, but as an example, like, it was a shame that they didn't do this with the 3D All-Stars, but it's 64 full Nintendo... Super Mario 64... Full HD, complete reimagining,
remake,
something like that. Cool.
Yep.
Not gagging for it, but I'd be like,
yeah.
okay, this, I can kind of see the logic in this.
Yeah. If it's part of like a reasonably like 4 other really interesting titles, and then that's in there as well. I imagine worst case scenario is they focus just like 90%, 75% maybe on the hardware. It's like, okay, so this is how it works. These are the new functions. Some of them were immediately like, that's never going to get used.
Yeah.
But if they do a lot of that, they're like, Mario Kart 9 coming soon, no date. And then if they're like, we're releasing, or if they announce like, every game from Switch 1 will be compatible on the Switch 2. And if you want to play them in an upgraded version, it'll cost $20.
That's a hard one because that's kind of, again, this is one of those weird things where there's not really a fully standardized version of this.
Yes.
But there kind of is. I mean, when they do like that Days Gone upgraded version that's coming out.
They did it
What is it if you and the Last of Us ones, if you own the old ones, it's
Ghost
like
of Tsushima was like you got to buy like
something.
the premium pass, and it's like, oh, you get some DLC and the upgraded version.
Yeah. So there is sort of there is kind of a precedent for that kind of thing. I mean, It's so hard to know how to do it, especially when you're saying like the entire library is going to be compatible.
Right.
Certainly, I mean, Sony do it with a lot of games that arguably haven't really needed it. But the thing with the last couple of years of the Switch is like there's tons of games that really do need it.
Yes.
You know, like
Yes.
really would benefit from a complete upgrade.
Yeah. And yes, a lot of the ones from the PS4 to PS5, like they were near to that generational, gap. Like,
Yeah, I think with games like God of War and Last of Us having those upgrades, the difference is that they already looked great.
yep,
You know, they were in a great state when they came out, and it is just like, hey, if you want to play them looking a little bit better.
yeah.
The issue with a lot of that last gen of Switch games is that they ran pretty poorly when they came out.
Yeah.
So like Bayonetta 3, I really liked what I was playing of it, but I kind of stopped because I think there will end up that feels like ages ago.
Yeah.
And at the time it felt like, well, the Switch 2 is going to be announced any day.
Yeah.
And I felt like I'm going to be able to play an actual improved version of this before too long. So I'll hold out here. So the issue isn't like, oh, okay, yeah, the game is, already technically very impressive looking. And yeah, if you're someone that wants to play it at, 4K, the most souped up version, pay a little $10 extra. With this, it would be like, the game was kind of like borderline unplayable. You know what I mean? Pay to upgrade it to just kind of like how it arguably should have looked. Like I've had a theory for a while that when all the rumors about the Switch Pro were swirling and then it never materialized, I think it really was meant to happen and they got done by like chip shortage or whatever.
Yeah.
Because you kind of saw immediately after that window, there were so many games that came out that ran pretty shoddily that it really felt like the point was, hey, there's a Pro that you can play like a better version of this on.
Yeah.
Like there were 3 or 4 in a row that were like, this is kind of unlike them to release stuff that's running like this sluggishly. That really pointed to like, the teams have just overextended themselves because they were working under the assumption that like we're essentially developing this for the Pro. And then by the time it became clear that wasn't going to be possible, it was like, well, we can't really downgrade it now.
Right.
Everyone's just getting the version that you would have gotten if you were just playing it on the original non-Pro Switch.
Yeah, running at like just 30 frames at best.
Yeah.
Because wasn't I heard there were some issues with that. The Zelda game where you play as Zelda, where there was like some frame rate stuff.
Yeah.
Because like there's so much shit on screen at any one time. It's tough. I'm curious to see what they do with it, and we'll find out next week.
Yeah.
We'll find out if they have addressed it or not.
Yeah, that's a good point. I do think that if they're going to address it with anything, I could see... That's a good point. I could see that being a part of it, that they announce maybe 2 or 3 of them of like Breath of the Wild HD.
Sure.
Maybe it's coming out as its own boxed version, but also, if you've got the original, it's $10. I reckon almost certainly something like a Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
Some of the like bigger stuff, Bayonetta 3, some of the stuff that is like that like would benefit most from the visual upgrade. I could see that being the ones that get the look in for that kind of treatment.
Yeah, and maybe that for everything else it's like, it's backwards compatible. It'll run at 60 frames per second.
Yeah.
And there'll be no texture updates or anything. It'll be smooth. That'd be awesome. Because there still was a bunch of stuff where like the art style was great. It just suffered a little bit under the power of the Switch One. But
price and date, what do you think?
So how much is the Switch One now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm going to get onto jbhifi.com and look it up.
That is my favorite place to shop.
That's the go-to.
It is.
I think at launch was it $500 or $600.
I think it was maybe $499.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I'm going to see if I can find Switch One Oz launch price.
Yeah, okay. Nintendo Switch. So So a Neon one now at JB, $469. Or $539 with a with Mario Kart and 12 months of the online.
Nintendo Switch price and release date revealed. IGN, 12th of Jan 2017. $469, 95 Australian.
Wow.
So it has not dropped.
Wow.
And it was pretty cheap.
$469.
Yeah.
Damn. I mean, that seems very cheap now.
It does. Yeah. And you'd imagine, like, obviously inflation, there's been a lot of inflation and up and down and stuff. They wouldn't go over, like, they wouldn't go to 600, I wouldn't imagine. I could see 550.
Oh.
I could see 550.
I reckon 6.
You reckon 6?
I reckon if the original after 7 years. No, 8 years.
8 years.
If it's still 469,
sure.
I reckon 6 makes sense.
Okay.
For it, well, obviously this also depends on how much of a technical upgrade it is.
Yes.
But yeah, I reckon baseline 6. I'd be surprised if it's under 6.
$5.99.
No.
I still think because their whole thing has always been like, we want it to be a cheaper option.
Yeah.
We want it to be available for families. I know $50 is a minimal, thing to quibble over, but I could see $5.49.
I guess you're right. Like the optics of 550 versus 600,
sure.
like how that sounds it feels like it's $1,000 difference.
Right,
like,
right.
You're right. I mean, I'm sort of just basing it more on like, yeah, the inflation factor, and like it just doesn't seem. I guess that's the other thing too, is like, yeah, hearing that the rumor has been that it is going to be like on the higher end.
Yeah.
And especially like, yeah, if it is, they are able to price their things how they price them because they keep the tech side of things down, like pretty, on the lower end. So if they are going for it a bit more, then that would bump it up. Because what's a PS5 is what? 900? 800.
Yeah.
For a Slim.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, in that case, probably 600 is. I reckon that's safe.
Yeah.
I reckon 600. I did not realize that's how much.
Oh, the Slim Digital Astrobot bundle 600.
Okay.
PlayStation 5 Slim $799. What does this fucking thing cost? PS5 Pro 1200.
That's fucking insane.
That's crazy.
So the digital PS5 is $600.
Yeah. I don't quite understand this because the
the other one has the disc drive, right?
PlayStation 5 Slim Digital.
Slim Digital is a great new country singer.
Yeah. This is so weird. Slim Digital just by itself $680.
Okay.
Slim Digital Astrobot bundle $600.
Well, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. Well, anyway, yeah.
Then I think 600.
So 600, 700, 800 for the PS5.
Yeah.
6 is still the cheapest one.
Yeah.
By
that's
a
true.
decent margin.
If they can get away with releasing it for $599 Australian.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good in the marketplace at the moment.
And then, Dave, I saw there's like a lot of real Zodiac Killer style stuff of like people thinking that May the 15th is the release date.
That's so fucking soon.
Different reasons. Like I think there's like I don't know, just a few different things.
Sure.
That kind of makes sense, but like I just think that's too soon. I'm
pretty sure like based on whatever was available at the time, end of last year, we were thinking like late June. And I think also based on sort of a lot of the events, the play testing events, like the hands-on stuff goes through June. So I'd be surprised if it was released in mid-May and then there was a bunch of like exclusive hands-on events that were happening in June.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, that's one of the things that people think is evidence is that there's a gap where none of them are happening and it's in that week. So I don't know. It would seem very soon.
Yes.
I would love that if they just go, the brand is fucking strong enough. We could literally not announce anything, have it turn up on shelves with no news, and have people be like, "What the it's out, and it's still going to sell millions."
Yes,
like they almost don't need a long rollout.
That is true.
But even like announcing it, next week, and then it coming out in June, even that's like fairly soon.
Yeah.
That's like 2 months.
But yes, I think if it was mid-May, we'd probably already be hearing like those things from retailers and those little bits of leaking because they have to know like, oh, we've got to have a big standee and we've got to have a big section for like that stuff would start to be getting in motion. I think. But if it is May 15th, I'll be in Japan.
That would be cool.
And I'll be going nuts.
Yeah. That I do like the idea. Like I'm in Sydney on that date.
Yeah.
And so I do like the idea of going and doing a pickup just being like, all right, I guess I'm pre-ordering from the JB in Redfern or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I got something to do on the flight home.
Yeah. No, totally.
Yeah.
That would be fun. But yeah, I would love that to be true. I would love to just have reveal and then it's out. Because I mean, I guess like they did do that big. There was the big thing where they revealed was it when they revealed the date? The thing in January for the Switch 1 and then it was out in March. So that wasn't like a huge lead time.
I think so. I think the article I was just reading, which was from Jan.
Yeah, it would have been after that big presentation that they did that was like a live event where, they sort of properly showed off like...
Yeah, 12th of Jan 2017 was the reveal of the launch date and the price.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
So that would track if it was, start of June. I mean, it's kind of a muchness, really, like going mid-May versus, like, June.
Yeah,
it's the difference of, like, what, 3 weeks?
Yeah,
really?
3 weeks, 6 weeks, depending on which part of the month.
Of June? Yeah. But, I don't know. I think, like, I would be pretty shocked if it's that soon. But that also would be cool to just turn around and be like, yep. Yeah. Get your fucking standees up.
Yep.
Get your little drawings out, JB Hi-Fi.
Yep. We have been cooking this up for a long ass time, like you said. When they assumedly pivoted away from doing a pro version, they would have been like, "All right, let's get planning for the
yes,
two."
Good point. Good point.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Switch wise, nah.
Tech wise, I guess it like I can't really speculate on what I think may or may not happen because I don't, in terms of the tech side of things, I just don't know.
Yeah. It'll be more powerful.
It'll be more powerful, yeah.
It'll be more powerful. It'll have a nicer screen.
Yep.
The Joy-Con stuff of being like mag lock sort of attachments, right? Like I guess we've sort of covered that already. People have sort of drawn conclusions from that little, 2-minute video.
Yep.
But yeah, otherwise, I'm ready to see what happens. And a guy who thought he was not ready to see what happens was the head of PlayStation. His name was Sean Layden. He was the PlayStation boss for like 30 years.
Yep.
And just ahead of the arrival of the PS5, he stepped down from that position.
Mm-hmm.
And he has now claimed in a podcast interview, not with us, unfortunately, but we'll get him at some point. He said, quote, "To be honest, the company was making some strategic decisions about where they want to take the platform in the future, with a heavy emphasis in games as a service, live service gaming, subscription formulas, recurring revenue and whatnot. And that was kind of not my wheelhouse. That was not my bag, baby." So yeah, he was the chairman of Sony Interactive.
Yeah.
I think he was at Sony for 30 years. He was the chairman for 5 years from 2014 to 2019. So right up to the launch of the PS5. And I mean, we've been kind of blessed with a lot of great single player games during that period and through the PS5. Like, I mean, less on the PS5 because there's 4 games on that platform. But I think, we got lucky with sort of Last of Us 2 being already probably in development.
Yep.
God of War, that as a franchise. Like, we had a lot of heavy hitters in terms of single player games. But if that was their philosophy from like 2020, and then part of that rollout was the game Concord, which 700 people played.
Yeah.
That is not a good sign.
Yeah. I'm looking at this quote here. Former PlayStation boss deathly concerned about ballooning budgets of AAA games. Questions how many live service forever games like GTA Online and Fortnite fans really have time for. Sean Layden thinks these rapidly going AAA budgets pose an existential threat to gaming, which is true of a lot of media at the moment. You're seeing like these movies where they spend $500 million and it's like... then the headline just becomes, this flopped. And
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
You didn't need to spend that much money on it.
Exactly. Like a movie, I think Snow White was the recent example where it's like it made like between 50 and 70 million dollars in its opening weekend, which is a lot of money.
Yeah.
But they spent like 350 million dollars on the movie and then however much on the marketing.
Yeah.
It's like just spend less.
Yeah.
You're Disney.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and when you look at what indie studios can do with games with like pretty small teams,
for sure,
and obviously they work themselves to the bone because it's their thing and their passion project and whatever, but like they are proof that like you can be smart about how you do things. Just funneling more money into something doesn't equal quality.
No, and it's like I think it speaks to the scope of certain things being also too big. It's like well, don't make a game that has like the the physical area mass of like the entire New York City island. Just scale it back a little bit. Like I'm sure Ubisoft is guilty of this as well with a lot of their open world games. But then I think there's probably an aspect of like, well, we developed our own engine. We've been doing this for years and years.
Right.
Where there's some efficiencies there of like, not having to pay fucking millions and millions of dollars to just completely, invent something out of thin air.
Yes.
But clearly it is a problem. And if your game is a flop, if your game is meant to be a live service game, a Suicide Squad for, kind of thing, and it's not very good or it doesn't break through and capture the market, which, like he's mentioned there, is already taken up by Fortnite, GTA 5 and everything else that is already out there, then you're kind of fucked.
And it's a bit of a classic thing too, where like those games, those examples that everyone wants to copy and replicate, they, not by accident, but they, there's a lot of luck involved. It's not just like if you create one, then everyone will move over to it.
Yes.
Like then there's an element of like kind of accidental success to that kind of stuff that is like you're better off trying to go in a different direction.
Yes.
And like just because a lot of people like a thing doesn't mean that that's the only thing that people like now.
Yeah. I feel like with those examples as well, like GTA 5 was a massively successful single player game, and then it had an online thing, which I feel like kind of has exploded more, not recently, but more recently than the single player game itself, right? Like that kind of built over time, and then Fortnite arguably just copied the Battle Royale thing from PUBG.
Yeah.
But then also added like, it's kid friendly. It has all these characters from media.
Yeah.
It's like a little bit, easier to get into. And now it's a fucking juggernaut.
Yeah.
And as if you could take that on and try and carve out the, a piece of that pie. Like,
right.
Yeah. I think you're right. It's like, come up with something of your own.
Yeah.
That could tap into a market that has not been captured by any other game.
Yeah.
So stupid philosophy over at Sony. Just keep paying Naughty Dog to make single player games.
They are in such a they're in such a weird place at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, it is still my preferred console. Just to play stuff on. Like I like the controllers, I like the interface.
Yeah, same.
Got PS Plus, you get a free couple of games it's all like that. And that, I guess, is a hangover of the last generation where they just nailed it. And everyone really loved the PS4.
Yeah.
So, and I think I remember us talking about this around the time of, like, the launch of the PS5. Like, are they going to do the thing where they have hubris and they're like, nothing we can do is going to fail?
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about with this Switch 2 launch.
Yeah.
But Nintendo have ridden the wave enough times where they've toppled because of that. So you would hope that there's people in there being like, let's not do what we always do.
Yeah.
I don't think Sony have really done that wave enough times. I feel like they're in a dip at the moment that's like, well, I mean, I say dip, I guess it's still selling well and like, I don't know, people like us going, there's nothing on it, but it doesn't really seem to be affecting their sales and
Yeah, and I think when like similar to how Nintendo basically could have been propped up by just Mario Kart.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if you're making money from the major multiplayer games that are out there, you're still getting a cut of the Call of Duty ticket for, like DLC and stuff. That's probably enough.
Yeah.
But we may see by the time the PS6 comes around, they're a bit more like, no, we need to win you guys back over.
Yeah. That's crazy to think that it's not too long away from us getting a PlayStation 6 reveal.
I mean, like COVID obviously fucked everything up for everything.
Yeah.
Like it really changed sort of the economy of everything that was happening around that time. But, you can only write off that goodwill for so long.
Yep.
Now, speaking of games that might ride off the goodwill
Oh, yes.
of being shown at the GDC.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's have a look.
So, there was obviously heaps of stuff that was talked about. Phantom Blade Zero was shown again. That was the one of 18 Japanese, ancient Japan set action RPGs.
Yep.
But that was shown again. I don't think it's been dated. To be determined, but sometime this year.
Okay.
But that looks sick. There was a few things though that popped up that were stuff I was not aware of.
Mm-hmm.
There's this game here called Take Us North.
Okay.
This is a Kickstarter funded game, and it gives players an experience that seeks to drive home the importance of empathy. Focusing on traversing the US-Mexico border. This I'm reading off Games Hub.
Yep, I'm looking at this too.
Yeah, you got a group of Mexican migrants looking to enter the USA while contending with the harsh climate of the desert and border agents. That sounds like it's definitely going to win that Games for Impact award at the Game Awards. I think that's a shoo-in.
Yeah.
But
that's so interesting.
It does sound very interesting. Like, there's just I'm just looking at a screenshot, but it looks pretty cool.
Yep.
Fascinating story and experience, and I'm curious about that one.
Yeah. What the hell was that? It's a pop-up ad coming up on gameshub.com.
Alert, you guys are being too boring.
I don't think the pop-up ads are annoying enough. I'd like it if they could always make noise when they come up.
That's insane. What else have we got here? There was something that really struck my... Oh, yes. There's a game called To a T.
Okay.
This is by Keita Takahashi, who did Katamari Damacy, Nobi
yep.
Nobi Boy.
Yep.
And so this is a narrative puzzle adventure game about a young adult just trying to live an everyday life, all while stuck in a T pose. That is a great premise.
Yeah.
It's like a little puzzle adventure game. You're trying to fucking sort your little shit. Like Katamari Damacy, very much like a physics-based puzzle game.
Cool art style. I really like this. This
Cool
looks
art
awesome.
style.
This is out in May. This is out quite soon, yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely be giving this a little poke. We need more games that are just weird like Katamari Damacy.
Yeah.
And then this other game, Wheel World.
Yeah, so
we'd heard about this.
I've got a demo.
Yeah.
I've downloaded a demo of this and haven't played it yet from the Next Fest. But yeah, it's got a really cool style. Bless you.
Another pop-up.
Yeah, it's kind of like an open worldy thing.
Yeah.
You're on a bike and it's just what if biking open world?
I'm going to sneeze again.
Okay.
Oh, hell yeah.
Bless you again.
Oh, thank you so much,
I will give you
Father.
one more, and that's my limit.
Wheel World looks cool. And then Hotel Barcelona. I never played Deadly Premonition, but, that was a game.
Yep.
Anyway, the developers of that have created this little game where you play. It's kind of a death loop scenario, I think.
Yeah, okay.
I can't quite tell. I think it's maybe a side scroller.
Yeah, it looks like it.
But it is very similar. There's a hotel where a bunch of serial killers are meeting up for a convention, I guess. Mm-hmm. And your job is to kill them all and escape the time loop that you're trapped in.
Yep.
Like a 2D death loop. I'm fucking down for it.
And a bit more Claire Obscure.
Yeah,
which is out. I did not realize this really soon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, in like in a month, April 24.
Yeah, fuck.
So that is pretty soon.
Yeah, sweet. We've got some nice little tentpole games to look forward to coming up.
Yeah, that's gonna be really good. I'm pumped for that.
There was another game. I think it's called like Cars the Berserker or something.
Mm-hmm.
Which is another sort of Souls-like action game, which is it's up for pre-order now, so I'll give that a poke soon.
Hell yeah.
But there is a bunch of stuff coming. Obviously, we're looking forward to the Switch too, but there's still a whole bunch of multi-platform games coming up.
Yeah. And there is stuff that's out now.
Well, blow me down with a feather.
It's not just stuff coming soon. There's stuff currently out.
There's stuff currently out, and I've had a little fucking quiggle of a certain game called Ass Creed Shad.
Yeah.
Which I like to call Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Yeah, you're weird like that.
Yeah.
You like to make things longer.
I like to, yes, all the nicknames. I call you Tommy Omi Omi.
Yep.
And so on. But yeah, I've been playing the first few hours of Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Yep.
I think I mentioned last week, it is, and with Phantom Blade Zero, yet another game set in the Edo period, shogunate sort of Japan, where you run around an open world and hack and slash people. It is also an Assassin's Creed game, which famously are very up and down.
Yes.
You're going up those towers.
Yep. You're jumping off them.
You're jumping down. And I'll be talking a little bit more about that franchise in a few days. I don't know when we'll put it up.
Oh, sure. I thought you meant in terms of your review of this. I was like, can I just hear it now, please?
Yeah, you can hear the review for this one now.
Yep.
But I'll be covering the whole franchise on the special zone.
Yes.
This month's special zone. And I've really enjoyed a lot of the games in this franchise over the years. The first few especially were such an innovation at the time. That idea of just being there's an entire incredibly detailed city from an ancient, time that's perfectly recreated.
Yep.
And you can just fucking climb up a bell tower and then run across all of the rooftops, then jump down and stab someone in the chest with a blade.
Yep.
Assassin's Creed Shadows, like I said, it's Japan, it's ninjas and samurais, or ninja and samurai, as I like to call them. But man, it's basically just Ghost of Tsushima, which is fucking cool.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't have some of the more elegant things, the sort of waypointing, or the pathfinding of the wind.
They're using the wind. Yeah, that was cool.
But it has meditation points, which was very similar to Black Myth. That had little sort of checkpoints where you just get to take in a thing. It has towers to climb. It has dudes to kill. But it's a interesting story so far. But it's two characters. The first one is this black guy called Diogo, who is a slave of the Portuguese in Japan. And the Portuguese basically meet up with a local lord, and they're like, can you let our priests walk around your land and preach? And the lord's like, let me think about it. And let me talk to your slave. And you have a little chat, and the Lord's like, you're a warrior. I want you to be on my side. And so he's like, yeah, you priests can walk around as long as I get this guy. And so you have a little mission at the start with him where you're playing through battle kind of scene. You're running around doing big samurai chops and stuff. And then very quickly after that, you switch to the other character, who is a woman who's, I think, just a commoner living in a village that gets attacked by the armies of the guy who you were working for in the other storyline. Everyone dies. A cool posse of guys with sick masks on kill your dad. And you're basically I vow revenge.
Right.
And so that is that's more stealth focused. You're not as overpowered as the big samurai. And so you're sort of sneaking around, and your basic mission is to link up with some people who can help you out. There's a blacksmith over here. There's some other guy. There's some guy with information on one of the bad guys over here. And you gradually explore the surroundings while, doing little, there's a village where there's some bad guys fighting and there's a treasure chest. All of that stuff that is fairly typical of this genre.
Yep.
But similar to Ghost of Tsushima, it's in a really cool looking setting. And the gameplay is you sneak around and stab people from behind.
Hell yeah.
There's a lot of, I think, customization of gear and stuff and outfits and, all of that, which I fucking love.
Yeah. That in this era, that kind of stuff is sometimes you play a game where, you unlock stuff and you're you just don't care enough.
Yeah,
You're like, I don't really care how the character looks, but
very good.
Getting a weird, funky new hat in this time period is always sick.
Getting a katana that's slightly green because it's got a poison blade.
Yeah.
Getting a like really cool black ninja outfit. Like all of that stuff I'm all about, and is the incentive to get me to do what people have often had an issue with in these kinds of games, which is repetitive open world activities.
Go here, get this thing, bring it back here.
Yeah, go here, kill this guy.
Yep.
Gets, some coins that you don't spend on something, like you say, you don't really care about.
Yep.
But if the potential is to assemble the greatest wardrobe of all time, brother, I'm going anywhere and doing anything.
Fit off.
Yeah. And so like you have a horse, so that can speed up fast, like just manual travel if you want.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also just run around everywhere, sneaking through the bushes, which I'm really enjoying.
Yep.
Because the game also looks really cool.
Yeah. I've seen some clips and stuff, and it looks great.
Yeah, I think like Ubisoft still is behind the 8 ball on like facial animations. That is probably the one thing where it's like, I can't buy into this story as much as Naughty Dog or any game with a bit more effort put into that. But yeah, environmental stuff looks fucking awesome. You're climbing a big, pavilion and looking out over the grasslands and the sun setting behind, a Japanese city from like, it looks beautiful.
Yeah, great.
Seasons change in it. You have like a seasons change.
Thank you. I was running that over in my head.
Yeah. You have, once you get to the point of like, I must take revenge, I must assemble the Avengers. A friend of yours is like, you can use my like house as a home base, and you can also add to it. So you have like a base building and expansion sort of mechanic.
Oh yeah, cool.
Like, again, just running around picking up fucking resources.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter for most games. Except if you can start building up a cool house.
Yeah.
With training rooms and stables and fucking, you get an extra people adding to your cause by building more. Like, so that's a great incentive as well. And like you say, it's in this era, in this setting, it just is more fun than if it was like, you've just got to add another room to your castle.
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying that. And like I said, I think last year, the formula of these games, even with Star Wars Outlaws, which a lot of people thought was too formulaic, it appeals to me.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I like the just like go here.
Yeah,
like I don't know. There's definitely it's not the only thing I would ever want to play, but I think too if you time it to. Yeah, if you're like sporadic with them, there is something comforting about just like, I know exactly what I'm in for.
Totally.
Yeah.
And if the controls are nice, if the combat's fun, which it is, it's pretty simple. It's, you've got a heavy attack, a light attack. You can parry, you can dodge, and then you've got some cool little powers where you like, hold down R2, press triangle, and you have like a sick samurai slash that the screen goes black and white. Actually, the presentation, beyond just the graphics being good, is sick.
Yeah, cool.
There's this really cool thing when you do the meditation points where it starts off as a quick time event, which was a bit like eye rolly.
Yeah.
It's like you're pressing triangle, you're pressing each face button to the beat of like a traditional instrument.
Oh yeah.
And then as that continues, the QuickTime prompts become fainter and fainter till they're disappeared.
Oh, and you're having to do it
to the beat still.
Yeah,
and
okay.
then the screen, slowly becomes sort of like desaturated to like the point of looking like, parchment with lines on it. And then that fades into like a memory from the past where you have like a little side story to do. And it's just really like elegantly done.
Yeah,
and
that's cool.
Yeah, like I feel like,
that's kind of like in the in Final Fantasy Rebirth when you find those, I forget what they're called, but there's like little things that you're looking for in each area, and to unlock them you do. It's like a QuickTime thing, and it shows you it, and then you have to do it without the button prompts on. You have to have memorized it.
Yeah, is it like the materia crystal?
Something like that.
Things?
Yeah.
Yes. And so like I said, pretty much everything in this you would have done in a game before.
Yeah.
Like none of it is completely unique, but the setting, the packaging, the interface, and a lot of those, like nice, elegant touches. It feels like Ubisoft cared about this game more than
a
lot of it in like I replayed a bit of Mirage. But even Valhalla, it just always felt like, well, this is just a Ubisoft interface. This is just the same old shit. None of it's been particularly thought through.
This sounds like it could have been its own like new thing.
Yeah, yes, 100%. Like aside from like the little nods and touches of like, well, yeah, when you jump off a tower into a bale of hay, there's like an eagle. Like there's some like very Assassin's Creed things.
Yeah.
Aside from that, yes, totally. This could have just been a brand new open world game that was set in ancient Japan.
Yep.
There was one of the kind of things I've liked the least about Assassin's Creed is the fact there's like a modern day or future set storyline.
Right, I was going to say, is that in this at all?
Basically at the start there is a bit to but it's just like the screen goes pixelated and then there's like a narrator being like, here's some memories. And then after maybe 25 minutes of the game, that happens and the narrator's like, you won't hear from me again.
Again, it just does seem like they've even fallen off really being fucked with that.
Totally.
Yeah.
As they should. Because just being like, you are playing an assassin from ancient Japan is cool enough.
Yeah.
I don't need any fucking explanation.
Like at the start of the series, the whole, that idea of what it was kind of interesting, but I mean, it's so far removed from that now.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm only a few hours in and I'm sure there'll be some things that are a bit repetitive as I go on. And also from what I know, you get a little taste of that samurai character at the start. Then you play as the ninja for like 10 hours.
Okay.
And then you swap back over and it starts to become, I think, a bit more back and forth. But I don't mind. I like this character.
Yep.
It's fucking fun. I'm sneaking around stabbing people.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
It's it's really good. It's worth a try if you have fallen off. And it's worth a try if you like open world games playing as like a ninja or a samurai.
Yeah, maybe I'll give this a go. This
it's a bit
cool.
of fun,
Yeah, nice.
So C+.
Cool.
Have you played anything this week?
Oh, this is so embarrassing. The only thing I've been playing is just sitting in bed and finishing off Epic Mickey. Which is,
yeah.
Exactly like it's every bit of it is like you're in a little area. You go to a new little bit, and it's not even like a 3D platform in the sense that like they're big areas. They're all like each world will be a bunch of like smaller self-contained little areas. Mm-hmm. And you meet a guy who's like, "Oh, Mickey, I need you to find 5 of these." And you just run around and you find them, and you you're filling stuff in with your paint, and you're like getting rid of bits of the wall using your thinner, and your combat's pretty fun. It feels really fun to move around in. The design is cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty repetitive. It's not really, in terms of the like mechanics of it.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, you got your paint stuff, which is like slightly different to, an absolute stock
standard.
I don't know.
I just find it so comfort food.
Yeah,
like I'm right at the end now. I've just been like sitting in bed and playing a couple of hours of it on the Steam Deck.
Yeah, nice.
Each night, because I'd played a fair bit of it, and then I just hadn't like ever finished it off. And like, I don't know. Sometimes like you just let something go, and then it's like gone forever. But then you just randomly go back in and you're just absolutely on a tear with it. That's been me this week.
Because you'd been trying a bunch of different like 3D platformers, some indie ones, and
I think that's what it was too. I kind of realized like I was enjoying that and I never finished it. Why don't I just go back and finish that?
Yeah, that had a bit of polish, and that that's all there ready for me to.
And the remaster of it is great. Like it's complete, like ground up. I kind of was thinking the second one would be fun to try now after, because it's just on Steam from back in the day.
Right.
But it's apparently like fine.
Right.
So I don't know. I probably won't bother.
Did people say that the one you're playing was fine at the time? Because it seemed like you like it a bit more than
I think at the
general
time.
response.
Well, I think I feel like the response to the remaster was better than the response to it, like the original back in the day. I think the original got like decent reviews, but the like camera was a little fidgety, and the like you were using the Wii remote, so all the motion stuff I think people didn't love.
Yep.
But this version having like you can just control the camera yourself, and it doesn't have the motion control, and it looks great. I think people were with the remaster were like, it's still very much a 3D platformer of its day.
Yeah.
If you're up for that, it's a good, it's a good package. It's a good version of it. So yeah, maybe I would maybe I would like the second one more than most people did at the time.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I probably
look. There is a bunch of other shit coming out.
There's too much stuff coming out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad to have gone and finished all this because it's like, yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
I wish it had a bit more of like the old Disney stuff in it.
Yeah.
Like it's cool. There's like a level you go to where it's like all the pirates from Peter Pan and like there's bits and pieces of that stuff. I wish there was like a little more of like those old characters in there. Like
Sure.
Pete's in it a fair bit.
Yeah.
Like
But what was the cow called? Bessie or something?
Oh, Clarabelle.
Clarabelle, yeah.
All those characters are kind of, there's like a little town that they all live in.
Yeah, right.
So that sort of stuff is cool. I wouldn't have minded, a little bit more of that sort of stuff being in there. But yeah, it's cool. I've been enjoying it. And that's it. That's all I've been doing.
Yeah. You've been playing the game of doing stand-up comedy.
Yeah. Well, we'd better wrap it up there for another week. Come and see me do stand-up comedy if you're in Melbourne at the Cooper's Inn, 7:30 p.m. My show Main Character is on until April the 6th. Would love to see you guys there. But we are going to leave it there. We'll be back next week with our big Switch 2 wrap-up.
Yeah, fuck. All the fallout. All the controversy.
Feels crazy. After years and years and years of speculation.
Yeah.
We're about to see the actual goddamn thing.
Yeah. So yeah, tune in for that. We'll be having a special guest on to break it all down.
Yeah.
That'll be very, very fun. Another very passionate Nintendo fan.
Exactly, yes.
Fanboy.
Yes.
Little hint who it might be.
Yeah.
But yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, thanks everyone. We'll see you next time. And as we say here, God damn it, at the end of every episode of Filthy Casuals, pay $10 if you want to hear this episode in HD.